What's up, party people? Jude Snowboarder here on Facebook. Jude's Junk is my Facebook page and shop, and Jude's Junk YouTube channel. And this idea that comic books are commodities seems to come up when people talk about pricing. So, fair market value is a word we throw around a lot. And what is fair market value? If you have GPA, you can look online and see what every 9/8 of a book sold for in the last 30 days. At least, like right now, it's February, since the beginning of the year, and there'll be a low and then an average and a high. So what's fair market value? A lot of people will say average. Well, do you look at average of 30 days? You look at average of 2 weeks? You look at an average of 60 days, 90 days? Something like GPA puts in an average of recent, I think 30 days, 90 days, and a year. So it's subjective. Those numbers that those companies put together are just for your help. But for some people, there's no way they're going to pay average, because someone out there is getting a below average price, and they're going to work harder to find those prices. Other people don't have the time. So when it comes down to fair market value, a lot of people, I think, confuse the stock market with comic books. A stock has no real intrinsic value. It's just a piece of a company, and it goes up and down. You can't hold it, you can't see it, you can't enjoy it. Where with a comic book, you can hold it, see it, and enjoy it. I got a lot of comic books in here, graded and raw, and I can pull it out and look at it just like I've held on to them for 40 years in many cases. So that provides value. When you own a stock, you don't see it, you can't touch it, you can't feel it. It doesn't provide any value like that. It's worth something, and somebody else determines what it's worth. Whereas with a comic book, it's art. So people can't reduce it to, it's just a commodity. Whatever the last sold is what it's worth. That's not necessarily true. Sometimes it is, sometimes it's not. Whatever the last 30-day average is what it's worth. That may or may not be true. So what provides a comic book? Its value, its fair market price. You got to remember, with comic books, since it is art, there is a lot more that goes into buying a book. People think a 9/8 CGC is a 9/8 CGC. Well, crack it and send it to a signing event. I just cracked 40 books and sent them off to Todd to get signed. And the first 5 that came back, all 5 held their grade or went up. I sent in 196 and it went up to a 9/8. That was magic. The next 22 that came in, 5 of the 18 books lost a value from 9/8 down to 9/6. One of them went from a 9/8 down to a 9/4. So what's the value of the book? If you can see it in the case that it's got a tick and it's probably not going to regrade it to 9/8, you might want to get rid of it really quick at the 9/8 price. But beyond that, people try to look at a fair market value of a signature, and there's just not enough sales data. GPA's got great sales data. In many cases, there's not enough sales data to get a value of a signed book, especially a 9/8. And so people reduce it to, well, it cost $150 to send to Todd, so that's increased the value of the book. Not the case at all. In some cases, Todd's signature raises it $1,000, if not more. So the cost to get a signature is not the value of a signature book. So this idea that people can reduce comic books to a commodity, and you may not know what a commodity is: pork bellies, oranges. There's a bottom line that they're worth, and everybody in the world agrees on it. And that's not the case with art. Not only that, you might buy from someone who you know is going to ship better than someone else. Like on eBay, they're notorious for not shipping well. So there's more risk associated with buying on eBay than it is maybe from someone on Facebook, where you can slam them publicly if they send you a junk package. Also, there's financing involved. I do financing of books. So, what is the value of that book if you can get it financed? So I just wish there was a better way for me to explain that comic books aren't commodities. They're not reduced to the fair market value is not reduced to the last sold or the lowest price sold over the last 30 days. That's why everybody's prices on eBay are different. You could have a 9.8 ranging from $100 to $500, and it could be because people just have forgot to reprice it. Could be because that's their point that they're willing to let it go at. There's a lot of reasons why someone might price their book way higher than the lowest price on eBay. That doesn't mean the lowest price is the fair market value. So I just am trying to communicate that comic books are not commodities, and people that want to buy and sell strictly to make money like the stock market, I think they're missing some elements that make a book more valuable. Besides the condition, and condition is very subjective, as you know. Very subjective. Now, grading has gone a long way to make it more objective, but it's not foolproof. So when there's a lot of sales data, it can be considered a commodity. But when it's a unique book, there is no way to know the value. If there's a lot of sales data for a 9.6 ASM 300, that can be reduced to a commodity. So very common books that are bought and sold a lot will act like a commodity. But you have a 1944 book, 8.0, and there's only 2 in the higher grade in the world. What's the value of that piece of art? Whatever is someone's willing to pay for it. And if one person's willing to pay $10,000 and nobody else in the world is, that's what he's going to pay for it. So that's might be what someone's going to try to price it as, to find that person who's going to be willing to pay $10,000 when nobody else in the world would. Maybe that book has a special story for their life. Maybe that book has meaning from when they were born. I bought a book for about $5,000, the first title of John Carter, Warlord in Mars. It never comes up for sale, and a 9.4 file copy came up for sale on the month that my dad died, and I was named after the character in that book. So that book has a lot of value to me because I was named after Taurus Tarkus on the cover of that first book, The Green Monster. So I am willing to pay a lot more for it. But what I paid for it, since that was the last purchase, doesn't mean that's what it's worth. Anyways, I wish I could communicate better that comic books are not commodities, they're art. But some people and sometimes they act like commodities. So that may or may not help you. It might just more confuse you. But I think it's important to say. Thanks a lot, guys. Happy hunting.